Oundle is situated to the north of Northamptonshire, in a loop of the River Nene. The parish church of St. Peter is the crowning glory of Oundle. The spire is 17th century rebuild on a mainly 13th century nave and aisles. It is worth looking at the former Anchor Inn. The inn is more reminiscent of a Cornish fishing village than a Midlands town inn. At the corner of the marketplace stands Bramston, now a schoolhouse, built by Stephen Bramston, a lawyer, about 1700. The old town hall in the centre of the marketplace was built in 1826. The hall has been recently restored and now houses a bank and a tourist information office. The school bookshop is a 17th century building, unique in Oundle by virtue of the colonnade. The pillars simply enable the rooms above the shop to be larger without blocking the pavement. The Talbot, Oundle's premier hostelry, was rebuilt in 1626. But within are features from an earlier building. Rumour has it that the fine staircase came from Fotheringay Castle. Drumming Well Lane is behind the Talbot Inn. The Drumming Well is no longer visible, but it is under your feet as you walk down the yard towards the Talbot Inn. Just up the street from the Talbot stands a relatively modern school building. The cloisters to the east were built about 1880 in a Tudor style. Further north, up the street, is the Great Hall, built in 1908, and now the setting for concerts and other gatherings. Although most of the distinctively old buildings in Oundle date from the 17th century or earlier, it is worth noting the elegant old schoolhouse on the corner of the churchyard, built for a new headmaster in 1763. The imposing White Lion building occupies a prime position facing the church. The bays, dating from 1641, were added to an older late medieval building. North Street was the old main street of Oundle and has managed to keep some of its medieval houses, mainly because the focus of later building shifted towards West Street. Further down the east side is Latham's Hospital, an E-shaped early 17th century building, now slightly cluttered by later additions. North Street ends with the 18th century maltings. The Ship Inn is one of the many 17th century buildings in West Street, with an entrance huge enough to admit wagons and coaches. Further along the street we come to Payne's Cottage and the Manse, a pair of long houses running away from the road. They are linked along the street by a high wall containing an ornate Elizabethan stone gateway, and which dates from 1824. The Jesus Church is a small building with large proportions, which is now home to the Roman Catholic congregations. It was built in 1878 by the Watts Russells, lords of the manor. Since most old buildings in Oundle appear to have been pubs at one time or another, it's not surprising that Oundle had a brewery. In fact, it had 3 in the mid-19th century. This somewhat stark building was the Anchor Brewery. The Memorial Chapel in Milton Road stands among spacious lawns. Built in 1922, it is a monument to Oundle School dead in the First World War. The visitor cannot fail to be impressed with its old buildings scattered throughout the town. One could be forgiven for thinking that it was a university town, so grand are the buildings that give Oundle an atmosphere all of its own.